Jeane Bazley, forensic astrologer, psychic, and medium, is joining us for today's episode. Jeane will show us how the planets can assist us in psychic investigations. What will the planets show us? Will they reveal the psychic evidence we uncovered on the Black Dahlia? Or will they take us in a new direction? Stay tuned.
Welcome to Looking for the Lost.
Today, we present part 4 of the Black Dahlia with special guest Jeane Bazley. And our spotlight is on Lauren Cho. I'm Kay Reynolds. I'm joined by Jeane July.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
And Asia Kim.
Hey, everybody.
We will be using graphics in this episode. If you want to get the full effects, go to our YouTube channel or visit our website at Looking for, and that's the number 4, the Lost. Jeane Bazley, forensic astrologer, psychic, and medium, is joining us for today's episode. Jeane, Asia, and I aren't chopping at the bit to hear what he has to reveal about the Black Dahlia case using forensic astrology. Jeane is a Bronx, New York native. He has been in the healthcare field for over 22 years. In the past, he has been a graphic designer, having attended the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan, a landscaper, a grave digger, a karate instructor, and a trauma center radiologist technologist, aka X-ray tech. Having discovered his psychic mediumship ability when he experienced a dream visitation from his long since passed grandmother, Jeane has embarked on a metaphysical journey that led him to psychic detection, where his passion now lies. He has worked with international mediums and psychic detectives, Tony Stockwell and Scott Russell Hill, on famous cases such as the Beaumont children, Kevin Hicks, and Reese Collins. In addition to working with police agencies and detectives, he has played a large part of either having a case reopened or providing avenues of inquiry which led police to solve the crime. He considers forensic astrology to be not just another tool in a psychic's arsenal, which can shed light on dark areas of crime scene, but is a fundamental part of validating what comes through a psychic's senses during an investigation. Jeane states, "It's an honor and a privilege to be the voice of those who have fallen due to extreme circumstances and come to the aid of their loved ones and law enforcement." So join with Jeane and Asia and I in welcoming Jeane to this episode of Looking for the Lost. But before we turn it over to Jeane, I'm going to turn it over to Jeane, and she's going to take us from there.
Yeah, I'm just going to do a little recap. For those of you who have been following us on this journey with the Black Dahlia, good, thank you. Joined us for the 4th part. So let me just do a short recap very quickly here. I'm going to just say the Black Dahlia is Elizabeth Short, was born in Hyde Park, Massachusetts, in 1924, moved to Los Angeles, California in 1943, worked as a waitress in LA, and also she lived in a home right behind the Florentine Gardens apartment, actually Florentine Gardens nightclub. So what we worked on basically is, where did Elizabeth go? Because the last place she was seen was the Biltmore Hotel, downtown LA. And then we worked to see if she went to the Crown Jewel Lounge. And also we worked on what happened between that time, the last time that she was seen, which was January 9th in 1947, up until January 15th, what occurred during that time. And we also worked on who we picked up, the suspects. There were several suspects. We picked up on who we thought was the suspect, and a couple of us picked up on more than one. There were more than one person involved. So, Jeane.
Why don't I first just explain what forensic astrology is?
Okay.
To to everyone. So where did I come across it? People ask me that all the time, and I say, I have no idea. It really just kind of popped up on Google. I was looking up the word forensic on another matter, and astrology was right in the search with it. And I was like, what is forensic astrology? What's this all about? I looked it up, and there's really very little information on it. There's maybe 5 or 6 books, a few YouTube videos, and just a few people that are actively doing it. But I, purchased the books, absorbed it all. Forensic astrology, it has its beginnings back in the 17th century with a master astrologer who goes by the name of William Lilly. And he's really the father that started all this and came up with a lot of the techniques. It's called predictive or electoral astrology, and you can predict things, and it is used for elections, presidential elections. He once predicted a farmer had lost a bull, had no idea where it went. He, in looking at the chart, said the bull is down this creek, it's up against a large boulder, and it is drowned. And it's in this direction, this distance. The farmer goes there, and the bull's there. So he pretty much became famous on that alone. So from the predictive and the astrology came horary astrology. And then from that is this offshoot forensic or criminal astrology. And what we do is we use birth charting software that's free on the internet. And just like a birth chart, where you place in a date of birth, a time, and a location, similarly, you bring up the chart again. So, for instance, my birth date is November 5th, 1965. I was born at 3:15 p.m., Bronx, New York. If I were to bring up a chart for criminal astrology, I would put in the date that an incident took place, a murder, an abduction, a disappearance, and then I would put in the location of where the event took place, and then a timestamp. And what is a timestamp? So that could be when a 911 call was placed. It could be when an Amber Alert was issued, when a police report is made out, a missing persons report. CCTV is excellent because they have the time and date stamps in the corners. The last time a witness saw someone, things like that are excellent timestamps. And then the chart is cast, and what you see is an actual snapshot of the event right before you. So probably the best thing to do to show you and describe to you how the rest of it works is to actually bring up the chart of the Black Dahlia, if it's okay to share.
Oh, yes, please.
Yes, please.
As we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for it.
All right, so let's do some sharing. So this is the chart of the Black Dahlia. And what I did was I placed in January 15th, 1947, 10 a.m. when her body was discovered. You could put in a location such as Los Angeles, California, but what I decided to do was to manually place the GPS settings that a gentleman who was also investigating the Black Dahlia, he found a vacant lot, which is right at the sidewalk where she was discovered. So that's what I placed in here. Not too much difference. Now, one of the first things I do with a chart is I validate the chart. And how I do that is there's a degree that's right here. And this one is at 23 degrees. We like to have it between 5 and 25 degrees. Anything before 5 degrees is a little early to see things in the chart. Anything after 25 degrees is a little bit late to see things in the chart. I've seen people use from 3 degrees to 27, and I'm okay with that. Now, here's the chart, and right where what we have in here is would be considered the world and where we kind of sit. This is the horizon line. So this is considered the daytime. This is considered the nighttime, or when things are less perceived. Dividing the hemispheres over here, most people would think that this is the eastern side. It's not. It's the western side. This is the eastern side. This is the north, and this is the south. A little bit opposite. So now, why don't we dig right into the chart, and we'll do things as I do them. One of the first things I do in the chart is I like to, first of all, identify what the ascendant is, or the victim. So we have Pisces on this side, and we look for the ruling planet, which is Neptune, which is right here. So this is Elizabeth, our victim. And the second thing that I do is I look for the descendant, or the perpetrator, the assailant. And on this side, we have Virgo, and its ruling planet is Mercury, which is right here. And we're going to get back to those things. But the first thing is I kind of like to validate things in the chart with either known facts or some things that the newspapers news have come up with, and then some of the things that a number of psychics have come up with. So what's one of the first things that we see? I look at Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer, and it could show us, according to William Lilly, birthmarks, tattoos, and scars. It can also show injuries, and one of the places it shows up most often is in Aries. Aries is the ram, and each sign around here, each sign governs a certain body part. Well, Chiron is in Scorpio, and we know that in Scorpio that it governs the sexual organs, and we know that some of her female genitalia was cut out. So that's already validating the chart, because that's a known. It also, Scorpio governs the hip, and Chiron with the hips is telling us that she was cut in half. And what also tells us that is, you'll see along here, also along with all the planets, they're at degrees. So this is 7 degrees, and that means balance. So that's telling me there's 2 equal body parts from the hips. So we have her trunk, and then we have her legs. Very interesting. So where we go from there now is, and I'm going to get back to Elizabeth Neptune, but there's also a co-ruler to the victim. There's also a co-ruler to the assailant. Co-ruler for Elizabeth is right here, the moon, and it's in the 8th house. The 8th house is one of the unfortunate departments. So is the 12th house. They're also known as the house of death. So this is telling me right away that she's passed on. So if I had seen this in a chart with somebody that had been missing for a week or 2 weeks, I would have known that they had passed on, especially if some of the psychics had come up with that. It's also what they call in fall, which means that the moon is weakened. Elizabeth is weakened. There's not too much that she can do, and there's reasons for that. It's at 13 degrees, and 13 degrees has a reason too. It's at an Aries degree. Aries, we said, means head, but it also indicates blood, a head wound, and the color red. And this validates the head wound that on the Black Dahlia. Now we move down to Neptune, to Elizabeth. You'll see a little R here, and that little R stands for retrograde, meaning the planet is in retrograde. Moving backwards. It's not truly moving backwards. It's an optical illusion. But what we do with that is we add 1 degree, and this now becomes 11 degrees. That indicates surprises, friends, networking, an unconventional weapon, and more so, that's an Aries degree. So Aries means to interrupt, to cut across. And what do we find on the Black Dahlia's face? the Glasgow smile, right?
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
again, we're validating the chart and the crime. Now, Neptune is also in the seventh house, and that tells us some things. It's in the seventh house of open enemies and removals. Removals could be like a death, and but it was also showing us that the victim was seeing what was right in front of her, which was the assailant, the perpetrator, this person that's doing these things to her, these awful things to her. So persons of the seventh house would be a partner, a spouse in regular astrology, lawyer, agent, an undesignated person. It could also be a thief, a fugitive, the public, an opponent, a defendant, niece or nephew, but also a physician. And yes,
Oh, no.
yeah,
Oh my.
right. So now we're going to get back to the physician as well. So now Neptune aspects these lines. These lines are aspects. Is aspecting down here, down to Saturn, which rules the bones and the body, and then Pluto. Pluto is usually a point of trouble in the chart, and it's also in the sign of Leo, and Leo tells us a number of things. One of the things is that Leo stands for entertainment. So we're also validating some of the things that you said about the cabaret club,
Yes.
right? And where she was that night. Also, with Pluto, Pluto has means a number of things: chaos, destruction, but it also means many, and it also is aspecting the moon, so that can give us colors. It gives us the color white and pale yellowish white, and it also stands for blood. So that's telling me that that the blood was drained from her body, all of it, and again, validating what happened to her. Right.
Right.
And this is really, it's since this is right next to her body, this is telling us this happened to Elizabeth's body. We also see what's called a square here, and a square is a point that is an indicator for abrasions or difficulties. So there was some difficulty in draining all that blood and getting it out of her as well. Over to the left of that, or to the eastern side, we have Uranus, and it's in Gemini. So Gemini is the two of things, right? Gemini, the twins. And what does that indicate? It indicates a couple. And we know that she was probably seen or was seen with a couple walking down the street, and it's in the third house, and that's the third house of neighborhoods. So again, we're validating the chart and what happened to her. It's in retrograde, so we add 1 degree, 19 degrees, and that again is an indicator for a couple, but also indicates law and justice. And that's kind of like a moment. But probably it's indicating that because there was a policewoman that had reported seeing Short on the street with a man and a woman the night before she was found murdered. So now let's just take a little tour over to some of the. Actually, let's take a tour to the perpetrator, Mercury. What does Mercury stand for? It also stands for a type of person and a profession. It stands for doctors, physicians. So I believe our perpetrator is a physician that used, as I said before, an unconventional weapon, a scalpel, right? Among other things, maybe. Now, we'll take a little tour around the chart, and when you have planets in the signs, just the mere fact that a planet is in a sign can tell you some things. So planets in Gemini may show what a victim was doing, may show them walking, which is true, but it may also show how the suspect transported the victim. So we know that her body was moved from some other place. It didn't start off there. That's what this is telling me. We have planets in Leo. So that can mean a family member or a lover was involved. We have planets in Scorpio, and that could mean insurance fraud. It could show death, sex, or rape, which is some of the things that you were bringing up. And it also shows places that are wet and low, like a basement. And how many of you were saying or indicating that there was a basement involved with some of the things that Elizabeth was experiencing? We have planets in Capricorn, and that can mean that there was a delay, which probably there was with all this transporting around of bodies and so on like that. And it could be either by the victim or the perpetrator. And it could mean the color black may be prominent, the Black Dahlia, right? It could also mean fear. And you did say that she was probably experiencing a lot of fear when she was going through all of this. And then we have a planet, Neptune, in Libra. And that may mean either a couple or a spouse was involved. And we know that a couple was involved. So now let's move up to the upper portion of the chart. And what this is called, when you have planets lined up, is called a stellium. And this is a rather tight stellium. So it's called a domino stellium. And what does that mean? That means that things happen very quickly. And we have the sun, we have, which is this icon, if you want to call it. We have Mars, we have Mercury, and we have part of fortune. That's a not a planet or anything, but that's kind of like a mathematical aspect. So this is creating a very rapidly moving story that's taking place. So I'm going to give you that story. So we have the sun, which is an authority figure, a government, or judge. So someone said that there was an authority figure, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. My
And then-
suspect.
I said that.
Oh,
I said that. An authority. Yeah.
yeah, we have some happy people in the house. So it's conjunct, meaning it's right next to, it's with Mars, which indicates the police. So we're already kind of seeing kind of a cover up here, right?
Said conspiracy.
There
Right?
we go.
Conspiracy, yeah.
Said
There
conspiracy.
we go.
And it also conjuncts or is with Mercury, that doctor. So there's something going on here, you know, with these things. And this is in the 11th house of club members and legislators. It's also in Capricorn, which rules governments. There's something going on here.
Oh my. Oh
Yeah.
my.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, it gets
Whoa.
better. It gets way
Okay.
Okay.
better.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, let's see how much better you can make it, John.
Oh, buckle
Oh
up.
my God.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm holding on. Wait,
So
let me
now-
put the seatbelt on. Okay.
we have part of fortune here, and what that simply means is that what these gentlemen are up to is going to be very successful, and it was right. What happened to
Mhm.
Elizabeth? Okay.
Mhm.
Over here, we have what's called Dark Moon Lilith. That's the co-ruler of the assailant. So you can see them as one and the same. It's at the highest point of the chart, the MC it's called, and this gives this person, our physician, great amount of power, the most power in the chart. So he's doing all the dirty work that these people or this person wants to do. Something happened there.
Oh my, John.
So now we see that Mars, and we see this degree, 22 degrees. We also see it over here with Jupiter, right? 22 degrees. 22 degrees means to kill or be killed. And that's kind of like an overall theme in the chart, kind of what I like to call an overall impression, because we see a lot of 22s in the chart, and we see some tens in the chart as well, a couple of tens. So that gives us the overall impression, not only kill or be killed, but again, the color black is prominent, the Black Dahlia. And what is Saturn related? And we said Saturn is the body and the bones, right?
Right.
It also means public office or public official. This gentleman. I'm really liking this guy,
Oh my. Oh
for the
my.
head of all this, and I
Oh
think,
my.
I believe
Oh
he's
my.
a judge. That resonates with me, feels good, and so on. So now we come to our very last part. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to give you my conclusion, and then we'll go back to the chart. Yes, I think that there was a judge or some high authority running this. I do believe that the police were involved. I do believe there was a conspiracy or cover up. I also believe that a physician performed these acts on Elizabeth. And this is a physician that was highly skilled, a surgeon, right? And we know a person like that. I think it was Dr. Hodel.
Yes,
Correct.
indeed it was.
George
Right.
Hodel.
George.
Mhm.
And his
Hodel, yes.
his own son is implicating him, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But here's the kicker. Why do we need a physician? Well, I believe that the Black Dahlia, Elizabeth Short, was pregnant.
We did.
Yeah.
Wow.
You were right.
I was right. I
Yeah.
was right. I
Yeah.
knew it. I
Yeah.
knew it.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I knew it.
There's some
Whoa.
some jealousy and revenge in the chart. There's like you said, there's some entertainment and things like
Yeah.
that. But let's go back to the chart and see where that pregnancy comes in, shall we?
Okay.
Please.
So back to the chart. And first we have Venus, which is most often, doesn't have to be, most often a female in the chart, but is most often a mother, right? And it's at 8 degrees, which is the Scorpio degree, aka the lover degree, right? It indicates death because it's the number 8, just like the 8th house of death, but also indicates pregnancy, womb, and what is Mars related? Blood, the color red, anger, and aggression. So now Venus aspects both Neptune and also aspects Pluto, which describe the death of a mother and the destructive and bloody manner in which the death occurred. But it would also describe the same type of death of an unborn child. Why? It's in the 5th house of children.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's also known as the 5th house of pregnancy. Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
And Leo also indicates children.
So this is almost like super confirmation, right?
This is almost super confirmation. And what we're saying is that, we're validating things in the chart that are known, but then these other unknown things or things that you're coming up with as a psychic are probably also true, right? So there you have it. And that's how forensic astrology works.
Wow.
that is amazing.
You just blew my mind, John. My mind is
Oh my God.
completely blown right now. I'm going to have to just take all the little pieces and try to put them all back together again.
Yeah, I made your night, right?
You
my gosh.
made my night. You have no idea. And it's interesting you talked about 2 people because I saw 2 people disposing
Yes,
of
you
her
did.
body. I
Yes.
mentioned
Yeah,
that
I said
before.
so did Jeane. Yeah.
I did too.
That's
I
right.
said
That's
it to
right.
people,
That's
Yeah.
more
right.
than one.
Yeah.
I have a question, John.
Yes.
And I don't know if it showed up in the charts, but did you get a feeling that this was maybe a sex ring, or that these men killers have done something like this before or close to it?
There's, I believe that there's some indicators in the chart. We could go back to the chart right now, and there's a lot. When you have the eighth house in Scorpio, especially, and I know Scorpio's dark, vengeful, jealousy comes in. I know because I'm a Scorpio.
Oh, yeah, me too. Me too.
So I can say that. Okay, so you know.
I do know.
And the eighth house, which is the death house and is one of the unfortunate departments, just like the 12th house over here. There's a lot of sex and death and rape and insurance things going on. We have Jupiter in here, and when Jupiter's involved, there's nothing good. We have the killer be killed, and but it also indicates a plan. So these people did get together to premeditate this, and I believe that they were able to get this gentleman, the physician, the surgeon, because he's probably done this before, gotten himself in trouble, and they're holding something over on him, right? So, and they're probably going back to him over and over and over again, and say, hey, we need you again. And he's probably saying, no, you said, the last time was it, no, sorry, we need you.
Wow.
So there's some things that really, that you said that I didn't look for in the chart, but I believe that are in there, and we can re-meet about it. But there's definitely some movement of the body. We have some squares here where these people were involved. So there were some difficulties here that they were experiencing, with this plan and so on like that. Jupiter also will tell you that this is government and so on. But
now I had a question about, and Jeane, maybe you came across this as well in the FBI report, that the autopsy report specifically stated that she was not pregnant and she had never been pregnant. But if we have all this information backing up the theory of law enforcement or government cover-up, then that doctor who performed the autopsy would be involved in this as well.
Well,
Yes.
the doctor who performed the autopsy would have been George Hodel, because he was. No, he was not Tommy Cronin. You're right. Oops, my bad.
He specialized in
he was in
female
sex
abortion
diseases and things like that too as well.
Yeah.
Yes, and also with the sexually transmitted diseases.
Yes.
So he knew everybody who had anything.
Right.
Yeah,
LA.
so it would make sense that he would be the one that they'd go to for abortion.
Right.
It would make sense. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, you're right. Because they said that she wasn't pregnant.
Right.
So more than likely that was another cover-up.
Another cover-up.
Well,
Yeah.
How can they tell? Because number one, they removed all of her female organs. They were gone, and all the blood is gone. There's no way to even find out whether or not she's pregnant. So the fact that they said she wasn't, to me, is really suspicious, just from a suspicious mindset, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Even outside of being psychic. But that just makes no sense.
Well, they probably said a term like it was inconclusive, and then probably somebody said, hey, can you just say that it wasn't pregnant? Can you wipe that out there, And this is back in 1947 where, there's no computers, there's no audit trail, right? Like I experienced in IT. If it's not on paper, it didn't happen, right?
Right.
Yep, that's true.
Right?
And that's how you would tell if a woman was pregnant. They would used to do blood tests to to check.
The rabbit done died.
The rabbit died, and that's what they used to do then. So I understand why all the blood was drained, so that there would just be no evidence
fluids.
whatsoever. No
No
fluids.
fluids whatsoever.
What's missing? What's funny that you mentioned fluids, and this chart is mostly, I look at it from an element point of view too. So you can look at it from the four different elements: air, earth, fire, water. This chart is mostly comprised of water, and that means it's very mysterious, very out of focus type of atmosphere, but it's also highlighting the pregnancy aspect of the chart as well.
Wow.
No, and when you
That just-
talk about the police and everyone being in on it, that's exactly what George Hodell's son is putting out there, is that the police were all involved in it. So this was a very important men kind of thing. That's unbelievable. Now, in your opinion, when you think about it, you talked about a conspiracy. Now, can your chart see maybe, was it the lover pushing the conspiracy? Is there any indications in there that can kind of sort of put more responsibility on that lover?
I think that the lover, myself, from what I look at in the chart, is this judge, this high authority that's in some authoritative position, this government, and it has to be probably involved with the law because they're manipulating the police, and these judges can do it, and the police can't really question it. Again, we're back in 1947, and the police, they're part of that good old boys club too, so
Correct.
they're not going to say anything, like the wall of blue, right? And
Yes.
nothing against the police. I love the police.
Yeah.
But those planets are tightly formed. That stellium, and what that stellium does is it puts a tremendous amount of energy into the chart as well. And one of the things I can go back to the chart and show you very quickly, if you don't mind. We also have what's called the shape of the chart. Not too many people talk about it, but I like it. And there's 5, 6, 7 different types of shapes. There's a wedge shaped, which is kind of more just kind of like that. There's a what they call a rare sickle shape. There's a bucket shape in where you have a wedge, but then you have a couple planets out here, and all that energy is going there. What we see here is called a locomotive, and rightly so. It runs in a clockwise position. So this is the locomotive, and where's it at? This couple, and it's dragging kind of along everything, but you also have, this is the beginning and this is the ending really here. And it's with these people, what really, is pushing this thing.
Wow. That brings it into perspective even more.
Right. Yeah. And how you like the name locomotive.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's fast acting and it's powerful. And that's why it was given that name.
Hit her like a freight train, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. In motion. I think when you brought up the thing about the couple, I'm curious, and Kay, I wonder if you think about that, because you had mentioned that it was at the Crown Bar, at the Crown Jewel Bar, right? That you saw a man and another person with him, and this was a gay bar that did drag shows. So I'm wondering if the couple was, they were 2 males, but one was actually, in drag or trans person or of some sort. And I wonder if the chart can say specifically, or is it kind of vague, when you say female and a male,
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
There are some indications. We'll go back to the chart again real quick.
Okay.
Go back to the regular chart. And, you have this female here, but it's also aspecting Neptune. And that can also be somewhat of an indicator that Neptune could be seen as lying, or it could be fake. So fake female. So there you go.
Mm,
Interesting, because
okay.
the two people I heard two men dumped her, and so that was interesting what you're
Well, the
bringing up.
men, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, the men that dumped her, or
Mm.
what I was feeling was, it took more than one person
Mhm.
to dump her body. So that could have been two men. But I think, but like he's showing on the chart that there's like all these men or bodies lined up mentally to do this work with Dr. Odell. And so, uh, you've got a bunch of people involved in this. So it's and when they got involved,
Right.
the chart kind of showed. But I always felt that there was more than one car. More than two people it took to lug her. Her corpse. But
But of
I
Well, what's interesting,
uh-huh.
just looking at the chart, I didn't look into it, but you're bringing it up. So
Okay.
we have Mercury, and that's aspecting Jupiter. Jupiter doesn't also mean a planet; it can mean other things, but it usually means expansive or large.
Mhm.
And Mercury can also mean transportation, so a large vehicle as
Okay.
well, right? And
Wow.
and if you're talking about the 22 degrees, the color black being prominent, a large vehicle. So maybe that is something like a hearse or something like a medical examiner vehicle or something like that, and really used for under the cover of night, right? Even better.
Right.
Yeah. Or a
we
police
saw
vehicle.
we saw
Yeah.
her getting picked up by a car,
Mm.
a hired car. We brought that up in when we were doing our work. That was something that she went out to a car, and the car had a driver, which would indicate that might be a a, a luxury vehicle.
Yeah.
It,
Wow.
it could be. Normally, what we see in the chart, and I don't see it aspecting here, but if it was a luxury vehicle, and this is just for this time of the evening, this doesn't mean that this chart extends back, 3 or 4 days or anything like that. But
Right.
we normally see Mercury transportation aspecting Venus, which is also luxury items, jewelry, and that would indicate a luxury vehicle. So I don't see that at this point of time, but if we back up the chart 3 or 4 days now, charts change every 2 minutes, um, slightly by degrees and so on like that. But if we went back 4 days, different locations, so on like that, then we might see Mercury aspecting Venus.
Interesting.
Wow.
Well, thank you for
Wow.
clearing that one up for me.
Sure.
This
Mm.
has been so
Mind blowing.
Oh my
yes.
gosh.
We
This
It
couldn't
is
is
even.
mind
amazing.
blowing
Mm.
to see that a lot of the information that we were picking up on, you're able to validate that in the chart. And that's one of the wonderful things about forensic astrology is you can validate.
Exactly.
You can validate a
Mm.
lot of what you're getting on a psychic level, so
That's true.
we so appreciate you putting. I know how much time it takes for you to do a chart, and I kept telling the Jeane and Asia both. I was like, you guys don't understand. It's like hours and hours and hours and hours of
It
work.
is. And I
Yeah.
have to say that it's out of all the psychic things I do or mediumship, this one uses the most energy. So the first time I do it, I kind of get, focused in and I'm there and I'm in a mode. And the first round is usually about 3 or 4 hours. And I have to get up and leave. And then I might come back the next day and I'll say, no, don't feel like working on it. Just like you do, you may have
Right.
one reading with somebody and it'll knock you out and you'll be sleeping till 12 noon. And then I'll come back and then I'll work on it for an hour, a couple days, 2 or 3 days will go by, maybe even a week, and I'll work on it for another hour and so on like that. And just distilling down, thinking. But I'm also using my psychic abilities psychometrizing the chart and, what feels good. And also those degrees that I showed you, I've been also listing out the degrees and their meanings and so on. A lot of people have done a lot of work before me. But I'm picking out words and short phrases from there that feel good, and put it with that. Sometimes I don't even know why it's going there, but I was like, wow, pregnancy and everything. But here you go, you validated the chart, and the chart validated you, and validated my own psychic work as well. So it's been fantastic. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We
My
really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Wow.
Well, thank you for having me here. This has been wonderful.
All right. So it is time for our spotlight now. And so I'm going to turn this over to Asia so that she can give us just a little bit of information about Lauren Cho, and then we'll take a look at her presentation. Asia?
Thanks, Kay. Yes, about Lauren Cho. Her name is Lauren L. Cho. L was her nickname, and that's what all her friends and family knew her as. What drew me to spotlight this case is that it happened around the time Gabby Petito disappeared. And while Lauren did not get quite the attention, it did raise up her profile, but it did put into stark relief and clearly to everybody that was looking at it is the difference in how much energy and media attention was placed on these cases that were happening simultaneously. So I just wanted to bring that up, just to point it out, and that's one of the reasons we do this show, because we want to raise those voices up that don't get heard or seen as easily.
Musician, chef, artist, teacher. That and so much more is how 30-year-old Lauren L. Cho's family and friends described her. She was a bright light with a mischievous sense of humor that made little quirks, like carrying a rubber chicken purse, seem quite ordinary. Laughter was as much her calling card as her classically trained soprano voice. Her love of music led her to become a music teacher, but in early 2021, she quit her teaching job in Flemington, New Jersey, and embarked on a cross-country journey to fulfill her dream of becoming a professional chef. Traveling in a remodeled bus, she, along with friends and her soon-to-be ex-boyfriend, Corey, settled in about 30 miles north of Palm Springs in the high desert town of Yucca Valley, California. In this small community of aspiring artists, they stayed with a friend, a Hollywood filmmaker who's a real-life prince. He hired Elle as a chef for his Airbnb, where she was popular with the guests, who found her sunny personality as delightful as the special dishes she prepared for them. Things seemed to be going well for Elle until the afternoon of June 28, 2021. When dressed in a bright yellow t-shirt and denim shorts, she apparently walked out into the desert alone, with no water, cell phone, or keys. According to Corey, at around 3:30 p.m., they had gotten into an argument, and he had gone inside the bus for about 10 minutes. When he came back out, she had, in his words, evaporated. He said he searched for her in the area but couldn't find her, and reported her missing approximately 2 hours later at 5:13 p.m. He told police he thought she was planning to meet someone at some point that day, and suggested she may have gotten into a car and left. Almost a month later, the surrounding area was scoured by detectives and police dogs with extensive air and ground searches. They found no trace of Lauren. Her family continued sharing her pictures and creating a group on Facebook, all in the hopes that someone would recognize her or even some of her distinctive tattoos and come forward with information. Elle is many things: a talented musician, an incredible baker, a hilarious and loyal friend, a strangely intuitive gift giver, and probably the coolest sister one could hope for, the family said on their Facebook page. But this is where Elle really shines, as an aunt. The love she has for her nibbling is unmatched. Even among family, the consensus is that her nibbling is the person Elle loves most in this world. For months, they waited for some news, any news. When a beautiful blonde internet influencer, Gabby Petito, became national news later in the fall after disappearing on a cross-country trip with her boyfriend, Elle's Korean-American family didn't complain about what many now refer to as missing white woman syndrome. They had nothing but empathy for the other family. They did what they could to make sure their daughter, their sister, their auntie, stayed as much in the public eye as possible. Finally, on October 9, 2021, human remains were found out in the open desert and identified as belonging to Lauren L. Cho. During the search for Lauren, other remains were found. These and other deaths and disappearances have given rise to rumors and speculation about the possibility of a serial killer on the loose in the Morongo Valley. Detective Aaron Holloway of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department said there didn't appear to be anything suggesting a connection between Lauren L. Cho's death and other remains found in the area. He stated that many people come and go to Joshua Tree National Park, and many are unfamiliar with the dangers of dehydration and how quickly it can happen. In his opinion, the most likely culprit isn't a serial killer. It's the high heat of the desert itself. In the months since Lauren L. Cho was found, neither the toxicology report or the coroner's report has been released. If you have information, please contact the We Tip hotline at 1-800-78-CRIME or online at www.wetip.com.
Wow, that was really interesting.
Yes.
And you know what caught my attention was the fact that where she was found, there were other bones and bodies that were found there, and they're not looking into that. That really just kind of like, what? Why aren't they? Why are they just dismissing that as dehydration and the heat?
Right.
Well, I think that the desert does have something to do with what happens. And so that's not an invalid viewpoint. But I think that to attribute so much and to that, because they did a search for her. They did an overhead search. They were looking for her. She was in a bright yellow t-shirt. If she were somewhere out there exposed where they found her, they would have been able to see her, but she wasn't seen. So that to me was one of the more disturbing aspects of it, because you would have thought that they would have just put a little bit more energy into looking for her right away when she first went missing.
Correct.
And I think that's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key, is we have to have the manpower out there and the drive to get on these cases immediately and really put as much in there as we can.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the more attention people pay to what's happening and the more we demand, everybody has more demands upon the system and insist, because you have to make a noise about it. There are many things that'll take that attention away. And this is way too important to allow it to just, fall by the wayside.
Exactly.
Right. All right, Jeane. What words of wisdom and inspiration do you have for us today?
What I received today to tell everyone, it's about the words that we choose to speak. We don't understand how much power we have in our words. We speak from the heart when we talk about things, when we talk about people, when we talk about situations. Some people say, oh, they're just words. Doesn't mean anything, but that's not true. Words have life. And when we speak a certain thing, we bring it to life. When you swear at someone, when you curse someone, when all these things, but when you speak beauty to someone, when you recognize who they are, and you say something that is uplifting, that has power. It has much life. And whatever we say, expect the universe to give it back to us in return. So be careful how we say things. Understand, it's life. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Well said. Absolutely. Words matter.
Words matter.
Words matter.
It's the spirit and the intention behind it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well done. Well said. Well, everybody, that concludes our show for today. I know this has been an exciting episode, and we've had the lovely John Bazley with us today. doing his amazing work with forensic astrology. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed it.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. So I would just like to leave you with these words. Our loved ones are never truly lost. They're only hidden from our sight. God bless, and thank you for listening.
If you have any information regarding a missing or murder case, contact your local authorities. Join us again next time on Looking for the Lost. Our theme music is written by Lynn Wolever.